Hey guys, welcome back. We want to talk about the best cards in Master Duel, cards that you need to craft first, that you need to get, that you need to know in order to play around them, because everyone will have them in their deck, especially for newer players. This is obviously an interesting topic, and the best resource that you can use, in my opinion, as always, basically when it comes to Master Duel matters, is Master Duel Meta. Dkayed site, and we can quickly take a look at the category top cards here. And there are a few different topics that you can choose from here. So let's first look at win rate. Win rate, obviously, this is the in-game win rate. So sometimes in-game you can check the win rate and use rates of specific cards. Keep in mind that the in-game stats are not complete. So sometimes there are decks missing where we don't have any in-game ratings for, which is why we can't really tell how good the deck is. Then you can see, for example, here, Branded Despia does not have a win rate represented card on this list, so you can't really tell how good Branded Despia is, but you can tell it for a few different other decks. And obviously the decks clump together here. You can see all the pearly cards are in one category, hovering around a 55% win rate, which is, I guess, fair. I have played Hearthstone before, and there we had decks with 65% win rates that needed to be nerfed, so I think a 55 is a very fair win rate percentage, and not a deck that needs a hard hit in order to be fair again. We can see some super heavy samurai cards here, at least this one is, and then we can also see some of the other super heavy samurai cards more down here. And obviously Snake Eye is one of the best decks at the moment, coming in after the pearly cards here. No big surprise. You can also see Vanquish Soul, which has quite a good win rate. Also the Adignista Cyber stuff, which was always a deck with a very good win rate. Actually, the Mathmech stuff is here, no surprise there. And then this is basically ends. This could also mean, I'm not quite sure, let me know in the comments if you know if that's true or not. This could also mean that a deck like Branded Despia is not in this win rate percentage. So they might start at a 53% win rate, as you can see the stats here basically. And maybe Branded Despia and other decks that are not on here, Labyrinth for example, they don't have this win rate on the ladder, which honestly, if that would be the case, I would be very surprised, because if the best decks win rate in this game have 55% win rate, then we have a really fair and balanced meta. At least these numbers seems to indicate this. Obviously, it could be the case that Branded Despia has like 70% win rate, and Master Duel Meta or Master Duel at the game does not want to show you this, so the cards are not on here. But I don't think that's true. I would rather guess that they are a bit below all of these others here, as it would make sense for these decks to be very, very strong. These would also be decks that I would put up at the top list, obviously. And then we can go to a usage rate, which I think is the more important one that you should look at if you want to know what are the best cards, what cards should you get, and what cards, and this is another important point, should you understand, because you need to understand the cards in order to play around them. If you don't know the most popular cards in the game, then you might bump into some problems or into some other problems when it comes to your resources on your account, because for example in the beginning I pulled an Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess from a pack, and back then I needed some resources for my Branded Despia deck, and then I decrafted the Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, which obviously did not make a lot of sense, because then I needed to recraft the card because it's such a staple card. And you can see the first let's say how much are there, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 ish. So basically the first two rows, you could say, minus and plus some other ones, are what you could consider meta staples, which are cards that are so good, for example the Maxi or the Ash Blossom here, that you basically will play them in nearly any deck. Obviously, if we look at the bottom of the first row here, then you can see we are then reaching like 40 and like 41% percentages basically. So that means that this card is not in every second deck, but basically in every third deck. So if it comes to the question, what cards should you get first and what are the best cards in Master Duel, this is definitely what you should look for. You can also go check here win rate summoned, though in my opinion this is not the most the most informative column here, because you can see there are cards like Hot Red, Dragon Archery, and King Calamity, which makes sense. If you get this guy on the field, your opponent cannot activate effects anymore for this turn. This obviously is nearly always an auto win, but this doesn't really help you because the deck that can summon it, this might not be the best deck in the game. And spoiler alert, it is not, because it's so hard to summon, it's so inconsistent that it does not really matter that this card is an end game card that basically ends the entire game. Same as with Emperor Charles the Great, which is part of the Infinite Noble Knights deck, which if it can get the entire combo through, then of course you can nearly not break the board, but this deck rarely gets the entire combo through without being interrupted. You can see a lot of other Infinite Noble Knight cards here, some of them that are a bit earlier in the combo. For example, the Captain Roland is a bit more early in the combo, whilst the Emperor Charles the Great is then a bit later on, and different cards that just are strong, but this does not really mean that they are or belong to a deck that is really powerful, right? So don't get confused here with this. We can also look at average battle damage, which once again is a column that does not really tell you much, only tells you basically what the best finishers are. So if, for example, you want to build a deck with like a high attack monster that outputs a lot of damage because you like this way of playing the game, then this could be a column that you could look for and search the deck that you want. For example, this would be Mevmag or another of the Cyburst decks, whilst the Elemental Hero Shining and Neos Wingman would be heroes, of course. So you can go check that and then choose the appropriate deck that belongs to this card. And then we have finisher rank, which honestly I'm not quite sure what this is, and it's also not really defined here. I would guess by looking at this, finisher rank. What is finisher rank? I'm not quite sure. If you know that, guys, let me know in the comments. I would guess that the deck was played a lot and finished a lot in Master 1, maybe? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. So there's Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon, and then we have, for example, Snake Eye Ash, not as high as the Flamberge Dragon. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know, but this is definitely, I guess, not the most important one that you want to look at. So the most important one being the usage rate, where you should definitely, if you're on a newer account, craft the meta staples. This would be Maxi, Ash Blossom, Called By, and Infinite Impermanence. These four are definitely the first ones you should get. These are the most important ones. Everything else here is a bit more situational. So from the left top until the right bottom here, it gets more situational. So for example, Nibiru is a super nice hand trap that can destroy big boards if your opponent summons a lot, but you will not be able to use Nibiru in every metagame environment because sometimes there are just decks that don't summon a lot, or maybe there is a trap deck that is very strong at the moment and you will face a lot stuff like this. Same goes for cards like the Effect Veiler or cards like the Access Code Talker that cannot be used in any deck, where, for example, Maxi or Ash Blossom could be used in any deck and are basically used in every deck, especially these two cards here. And then, for example, there's a common package people are playing with triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, and then two Caught By, sometimes with a Crossout Designator, so that you have the opportunity to cross out an opponent's Maxi, an opponent's Ash Blossom, or an opponent's Caught By the Grave. But yeah, you should look at this list. You should be aware of the effect of basically all of the cards here on the first side. You could say you should know them, know what they do, because obviously they belong to a very important deck. So for example, if you understand what the Hydrant or especially the Turbulence does for Rescue Ace, then you are basically also aware what the deck wants to do. So go ahead if you're newer to the game and go check out these cards. These change obviously when a new pack releases, like potentially tomorrow when we get a new pack. This is at least expected here, and go ahead and craft these cards. Obviously, take a closer look at your resources and take a look at whether you need the card for the specific deck at the moment. If you're not aware where you can find that out, you can just go to top decks and then go to the deck that you want to build. And then, for example, you want to build Bright Despair, you can go check ahead and check some lists whether they, for example, use a talents here. You see, oh, they are using a talents here. Then go to the next one. You see, oh, they don't use the talents, so it might not be the most important card here in the deck. They don't either, and the next list might once again use it. Yeah, there you can see it. And so you can find out which cards you really need and which cards you can basically skip if you want to do that. There are other resources, other websites that you can use, for example, Untapped GG, which is also not bad, but don't shows you the strongest cards in the game. So this is definitely the best resource to go to if you want to go check that out. Some of the cards you will also get for free, for example, the Reinforcement of the Armor you will get for free. Is there another one here? I don't think so, or at least cannot really see it at the moment. Cards like Dkayed will also be available in a structure deck the Salamangreat structure deck. By the way, tomorrow the new Salamangreat pack will probably release, which means if I have time, we'll obviously live stream with the new cards, the Salamangreat cards, the Horus cards. You know the drill. Tomorrow be there, as it always is on release day, if you have followed my channel for a while. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think of these top cards here. How was your strategy when you started out the game? What did you craft first? I definitely made some mistakes because of me having not the appropriate knowledge. So, for example, decrafting the Appaloosa definitely cost me some resources. It was a bit stupid. And don't do what a friend of mine does. He always builds meta deck with all the stuff, and then he decrafts the entire meta deck, also the staple cards. So for example, he crafts a Zeus, and then if he does not play an XYZ deck anymore but the synchro deck, then he decrafts the Zeus once again. I would not do that. If you have the staples, keep the staples, because they will be usable once again in a future meta or in a future deck, so don't waste them, guys. Thanks for being here. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up and the notification bell, and we will see each other in the next one, possibly tomorrow.